Hi guys, welcome back to Chiara DIY What? Thank you so much for tuning in this week, and guess what? We have another Dollar Tree DIY, and it's upside down. We have another Dollar Tree DIY featuring Jenga pieces, and I know that Jenga pieces are like sort of kind of hard to come by at Dollar Tree, but I talked to someone at Dollar Tree who told me they always continuously stock the mini Jenga pieces. I think they're called like tumbling towers at Dollar Tree or whatever. But they said that even though they don't have a specific time or day or when they ship them in, they always continuously get them in. So you'll be able to do this DIY as soon as you find some Jenga pieces. So I use Jenga pieces, burlap, and my Cricut Maker to do these little signs. And there's 5 of them all together, but here's just a few of them. And once we get into the tutorial, I'll let you know what I use, when I used it, and all the good stuff. So don't worry. I will have everything listed down below as well as in the tutorial. So let's not waste any time, guys. Let's DIY. Okay, so here is the first part of the tutorial, and I am showing you all of the supplies that I decided to use. I will also list them down below, so don't worry about if you miss anything in this part of the video. Here are the Jenga pieces. They're pretty small, so have a little bit of patience as you go about staining them. So the staining took a little bit of time, but as always, before I start staining, I like to get a picture or idea of what everything is going to look like before I actually start. So I used 2 across and 3 Jenga pieces down on both sides, so 10 Jenga pieces total. I then took a ruler and I measured the inside up and down. This was so I would be exactly sure of what size to make the printout from the Cricut. So here is the paint stain. It's aged wheat. You can't really see it that well, but I will link it down below. It's aged wheat. And so basically, as always with staining, you want to make sure that you have a paper towel, and you don't want to keep the stain on these Jenga pieces too long because they are pretty light naturally, that if you keep it on there too long, it'll just stain completely through, and it'll take away from the actual stain and make it more darker than the intended color is supposed to be. So you'll want to just lightly put on the stain and completely wipe off the stain immediately after. So yeah, again, this part takes a little bit of time and patience. However, I was really happy with how it came out, so I didn't mind taking the time that needed to stain the pieces. There were 5 signs, 10 pieces each, so that's 50 pieces. So as you can imagine, it took a little bit of time, I think about 15 minutes or so. So this part, I basically just wanted to get a better idea of how it would look with the burlap and with the sign pieces. One, I wanted to make sure that I liked the burlap color with the stain that I used. And then 2, I wanted to be sure that with the 10 pieces that I had, that the frame would be the perfect size. So I was lazy on this part, and I did not use a ruler or anything to measure out how much burlap I needed for the sign. However, I don't think that that really mattered too much as far as getting the correct measurement. I'll show you later on why I think that the measurements didn't really matter. So I used Elmer's wood glue, which I really like using on these pieces. But I will say that you will need to be a little generous with the amount of glue you use. Don't worry, it does dry clear, so it won't be seen on other parts of the project. But there were some pieces that I didn't use enough glue on, which I thought it was enough glue, but then I had to go back. So make sure you are generous, a little generous with the glue. Oh, and before I forget, I used wax paper or parchment paper underneath the frame as it glued, and I totally recommend it because once it was completely glued together and dried, I was able to just literally pick it up and take it right off the paper, and nothing stuck to the frame, and the frame didn't stick to the parchment paper. So please use parchment paper if you do have it while you're gluing, because it is a lifesaver. And there you have it. All 5 frames are done. They're not completely dry, so I'm going to let them sit there and dry for a little bit, and I'm going to move on to the next step. So I took the first piece of burlap that I cut from the original frame, and I just used that as a guideline and cut 4 more pieces out. And that is how I did the measurements. I didn't use a ruler, but again, you can totally use a ruler if you need to or want to make it more comfortable for you, to make sure that you have the correct size that you need for your frames. So I did the Cricut part of this project separately at a different time, so I will not be showing it in this video. However, if you do want to see me use the Cricut for a sign or anything like that, comment down below and I will definitely do a tutorial. I used the Cricut Easy Press to iron on the vinyl to the burlap. Let me tell you, it is not that easy. You have to be patient with the burlap. For some reason, it is a thicker material, but it's thin because it has like little holes on both sides, so it'll take a little bit of time and a little bit of patience. I did up the temperature on the Easy Press to help me get a better stick to it, and I did also flip it over and kind of like use the Easy Press on the back to kind of help with the heat to make sure it's stuck to the vinyl. So you just have to play around with it, and until you're comfortable where you want to take off the plastic cover from the vinyl, until you're happy with it, just play around with it. But it does work and it does look awesome once it is done. I used a staple gun. Instead of just gluing it, I wanted to be sure that it would stay, so I used a staple gun and put in some staples to hold the burlap to the Jenga pieces. And I just went around the frame, and I was very generous with the staples, so feel free to use as many staples as you want. I did realize that after I cut this part off the extra burlap that I didn't really need to, so the other frames, what I did was I took the excess burlap and just folded it over and did another staple on the back. But it is totally up to you. You can definitely either cut the excess burlap, you can either measure it from the beginning to measure it around the exact measurement of the frame, or you can use the excess and just double fold. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you're able to find the Jenga pieces that you need to make one of these wooden frames. If you like this tutorial, make sure that you subscribe and click the bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. Also, if you like this particular tutorial, make sure you give me a thumbs up and comment down below and tell me what your favorite saying of the fall is. And don't forget, if you like my tutorials, click this one down here so that you can watch one of my latest tutorials. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.